Beach Development Authority monthly meeting for April 20th, 2021. The floor is open right now for public comment period. Vicki, has anyone signed up to speak? No, ma'am. All right, so no public comment this morning. Now we'll have a review of and approval of the meeting minutes for the March 16th, 2020 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And then a second, all in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Financials. Nope. Thank you, Dot. We got you. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. All right, guys, I got a quick financials presentation for you for the month of March. All right, so here's our operating account summary. Beginning cash at 4.5, significant cash receipts. Monthly interest deposit is hardly significant, but I needed to fill up this slide here. So moving on, significant cash disbursements. We have two management fees to Global Links, which are actually, this covers a span of March 15th to May 15th. So it's pretty much just catching up. We pay prior to the March 15th payment typically in February. All right, $10,000 to tip strategies for the Economic Development Strategic Plan. That's the third of 5 payments and the final audit billing. And in the cash, ending right where we started at 4.5. All right, for the incentive accounts. We have beginning cash at $4 million. No significant cash receipts again. All right, cash disbursements. Oh, looks like I got a little paper on that. We got $1.15 million for bio initiative funding. I made a little typo last month too, when I said the management fees were over $300,000. So this is 2 months, January and February management fees to Facility Logics for $12,500. The monthly rent of $11,000. Reimbursable construction expenditures for $1.115, and another $3,000 in engineering fees. And additionally, only $16,000 in EDIP outgoing payments. All right, and that ends us at 2.9. Among, let's see, in this 2.9 is $470,000 in Commonwealth funds for LifeNet that will be issued back to the state probably this month. All right, that's all I got, guys. Any questions?
Madam Chair, if I might be recognized.
Yes, Taylor, please.
It's important to note as it relates to your incentive account. As we have made it to April, it's important to remember that we get from graciously from our city council, we get through a dedication of the cigarette tax between $2.2 and $2.4 million in new incentives money every year. So you all remember it was about 18 months ago that you made a conscious decision to start building balance in this incentives account. So 2.9 million, but really about 2.5 million is as healthy a place as we have been for about 6 years. You all will remember at the end of your last fiscal year, we had less than 50, I think it was less than 300,000 total that was available in your incentives accounts. And so I just want to thank you for your commitment to good fiscal and sound fiscal management, and also for helping us to build this balance back up over the last 2 fiscal years.
Thank you, Taylor. Any questions for Blake? Blake, thank you very much. Next, we'll have a briefing on NAS Oceana. Ryan Solis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the authority. It's my pleasure to be here this morning and introduce Captain John Hewitt, Commanding Officer for NAS Oceana. We're here to talk about an exciting new program, Future Base Design, as the City of Virginia Beach and the Department of Navy continue to evolve their very positive partnership over the last many years. So in terms of our overview for you this morning, I'm going to invite Captain Hewitt up to talk about kind of merits future-based design and why now and why at Oceana as we continue to evolve all the positive steps we've taken since the 2005 BRAC order in terms of reduced density of encroachments and incompatible uses, but also being there to support the operations of the East Coast Master Jet base there at Oceana. And so a catalyst for that was in Captain Hewitt's wisdom of getting a group of consultants on board to talk about a case study of Brooks City base in San Antonio, Texas, and encourage you at your leisure to maybe research that and see how that has really evolved from an engineering and research Air Force base to a full case study and redevelopment and stimulating, certain corridor or quadrant of the San Antonio area. And then what has been advanced since then is a non-binding agreement between Oceana and the city that is going through the steps right now to be fully executed. And then we'll talk about some immediate next steps and how we're likely to be involved along the way. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Hewitt for a few.
Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm John Hewitt from Oceana. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about future-based design. For the last 2 years, we've been developing future-based design, and where it came from, it really was a confluence of the age of Oceana, the funding profile that the Navy has put me on, other leadership direction and guidance to challenge the status quo, partner with willing partners, come up with innovative ideas, and probably most importantly, my senior leadership telling me there's no more bags of money coming. So you need to find your solutions locally. So it was literally me and maybe 2 others that were staring at a map of Oceana saying, how can we extract value out of this land? Where can we find ideas? And we were literally throwing things on the wall, trying to find what would stick. And then we found that there was intrinsic value in the land that we have. And when I say land, there's about 1,100 acres of land we're looking at, and of that 1,100, we're thinking somewhere between 300 to 500 acres that could be developed. That's both inside the fence line and outside of our fence line. I will tell you that a lot of future-based design is challenging that status quo that I mentioned before, and it is a completely new and comprehensive way to run a Navy installation. And to give you a sense of how it's grown from really something inside the fence line all the way up through senior Navy leadership. Yesterday I had an opportunity to brief the Vice Chief of Naval Operations. He was in town, and I basically led him through this discussion. And he was very, very pleased with the direction, very supportive. And Brian will cover this a little bit later, but there was a strategic non-binding agreement between the Navy and the City of Virginia Beach to support future-based design, and that is now in the Secretariat, the Navy Secretariat, to be signed out by the Undersecretary of the Navy for Energy Installations in the Environment. And the reason we did that was to provide future-based design some legs in perpetuity, and it would survive whoever is sitting in my chair. It was an authoritative document that we could go back to. So Oceana, home to the East Coast Strike Fighter fleet of F-18 Hornets. We support every East Coast carrier and West Coast aircraft carrier. And to give you a sense of the importance of those assets that you see flying every day, if you remember ISIS, that was in Iraq and Syria, and I guess where else were they? I can't remember. But the people that were doing pretty bad things, they were basically wiped off the map. And the people that did that were those assets, those aircraft, those pilots, those maintainers that maintained those aircraft. That was the assets that were used to wipe out ISIS. And there was a little bit of help from the Marine Corps, a little bit of help from other services, but it was largely the assets out of Oceana that fought ISIS in Iraq and in Syria. The other part of future-based design is to increase the military value. We know it's high, but we want to secure it even more, and we wanted to do it in a way that was congruent with where the City of Virginia Beach was going. We wanted to provide some economic development opportunities. We didn't want this notion that we're the base, we're these 5,000 acres and you guys are outside, you're the city. That paradigm has now been erased, and we want to make it more of a blended approach and a blended partnership between the Navy and the city of Virginia Beach. It's deliberate that we partnered with Brian and Taylor in economic development and some other folks in the city. So at the bottom it says it's a transformational and comprehensive approach to the way that the Navy is running installations, and this is the first in the Department of Defense on this scale. So future-based design, it's going to do some of these things. I'll pause for a moment for you to read the slide. But there is just tremendous opportunity for the city, for the Navy, and for both of us collectively. I can increase the military value of Oceana to the Department of Defense through future-based design initiatives. I can bring some energy resiliency to the base. I can bring some energy resiliency to the city. We're supporting, in the case of Dominion, our very nascent relationship with Dominion Energy, helping facilitate jobs in a new tech sector with the CVOW program. And then for the areas of base development, 350 to 500 acres around there, this is going to create jobs for a lot of people. And I don't want to get ahead of my skis. Taylor really is in the lead for that. He can talk more to that, give you a sense of who we're trying to attract it both inside of our fence line and outside of our fence line. But it is very, very promising. We have some aspirational opportunities to bring 5G to the base and beyond, and support some of the undersea cables that are coming to Virginia Beach through data centers and other technologies. So Brian mentioned the CRE report. So this was a deliberate action. CRE stands for the Counselors of Real Estate, and they have something called the CRE Consulting Corp. And so I was turned on to the Counselors of Real Estate through my boss, Admiral Rock, and this is a conglomeration of very successful real estate executives around the country and around the world that have to have demonstrated performance before they're invited to become a CRE counselor. And they essentially provided their services pro bono to see if there was any value in future-based design. And we deliberately chose them because they're not from here. They're not from Virginia Beach, they're not from Virginia. They don't have any equity in Oceana or the city. And we really wanted to get an unfiltered look at what we were sitting on. So they came in last summer and produced a very comprehensive, not inconsequential or unimportant report. And that report is now public. We provided it to City Council, and we think that was the catalyst that enabled City Council to vote 11-0 to support future-based design via the non-binding agreement. But in there, they did some very thorough review of the opportunities, business opportunities for future-based design. I'm a naval aviator by trade. I know how to fly gray airplanes off gray ships. I am not a business person. Every day in future-based design, I find my knowledge horizon. And this is well beyond my knowledge horizon. So the report is out there for the business community to review it, to see it, to look at those opportunities. I would welcome that opportunity for you to do that. And I think with that, I will pause for questions or comments.
We have questions or comments for the captain at the moment? We'll get to the end. So the captain briefed council on November 20th, which was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. We got enough nods to, over the holidays, work on a non-binding agreement, future-based design agreement. Alex Stiles, one of the architects of that, on the legal side of the house for the city, and then the JAG on the Navy side of the house. And then, yes, in March, council authorized the city manager to execute that agreement, which is currently in process. So the three main tenets of that agreement are a master lease agreement, and Deborah Bryan, who's was with his attorney by trade and now the city's legislative affairs liaison for the city manager, is helping draft that with a group of consultants by the Navy. They go by SIA. They've done these type of partnerships on the Army side of the house, and now are entering into the fray here on the Navy side of the house. So it is kind of a gross 1,000 acres, and we think when you net it out, you'll be somewhere, a certain percentage of that are on, and I'll show a map in a moment, in proximity to 2 interstate interchanges, which makes it a little bit different product and perhaps a more attractive one than some of the other portfolio sites that we have, in addition to, expansive road frontage as well. So something that could really help the Navy side of the house and potentially the city through economies of scale is shared services initiatives or cooperative procurement. And that is wherein the Navy partners with localities and their contracts to basically service roads, infrastructure, services on the installation itself. And the economies of scale could be that, with the larger scope of contract and services, or that the per unit cost would go down. And the Navy would still fund that service to the contractor, whether it be through the city or directly, but likely at a much less cost. No Davis-Bacon wages and Buy America, and although we'd like to always meet the tenets of Buy America, but they won't be requirements necessarily on that piece. So we are currently looking at, and some of our larger scale, heavy lifting city departments like Public Works and Parks and Recreation, a couple pilot areas to consider, whether it be road repaving, solid waste management, or what have you, seeing how we can get off the ground and get a win on that front. And something really interesting is, on the naval installations, if any of you have military backgrounds or have been on them, there's a lot of MWR assets, morale, welfare, and recreation, whether it be the 2 golf courses at Oceana, bowling alleys, water parks, gymnasiums. And so this is an opportunity to, instead of continuing to maintain those assets on the base, perhaps, adding a new stipend to our military personnel to use in the business community instead. Conversely, there might be an opportunity, say, childcare or parks and recreation after full time, to go onto the base and provide those services on the base. As an example, as a contractor. So we're really vetting those opportunities. What we do know is that the infrastructure is aging on the base, and that the business community is ready to receive, a whole new group of potential customers. So this map is meant to just generally identify potential out-lease locations. You'll notice that, if you look at the solid yellow line, that's generally in the fence line. And you'll notice some stars that are in the fence line. So there are potentially companies that have certain clearances, security clearances that Ray White and Taylor and a lot of you may be aware of, that may want to locate inside of the fence line. And then the majority of the hundreds of acres are in that yellow line on the right there on the east side is Oceana Boulevard. Potentially out-lease as well for compatible economic development. So in terms of the offshore wind energy project, the largest sustainable energy project in the country, these are a few corridors where either through transmission line infrastructure to that green box, which could potentially be the offshore wind switch station that's required to take the energy from the offshore wind turbines and then convey it into the grid from there. So there's a couple of corridors already being looked at for that. In fact, Admiral Rock was recently appointed to the Mayor's Committee on Wind Energy and Sustainable Energy recently. So in terms of next steps, the signatures on the Navy side are a little bit more of a process and going up the chain in Washington, D.C., and then ours are fully executed. It's just a shorter process on our side, coming away from the council's authorization to sign that. We're working through the main tenets of the agreement that I told you about, the master lease agreement. Debbie Bryan is running point on that. We are facilitating discussions with our city departments and looking at the contracts for services that the Navy currently has on those cooperative purchasing arrangements. And then perhaps there'll be a different type of industry day where we invite businesses to, for some other conduit to talk about how can military personnel achieve their MWR type of benefits out in the business community with military stipends. So, and then coming up, it's kind of the rubber meeting the road where planners on both sides of the house will go through a detailed fence line reconfiguration as to how will the base constrict its footprint while still allowing for it to flourish as a master jet base. And that will really yield what property specifically is available for economic development. A picture on the top left, for example, was aging barracks, and it's quite possible that they would RFP out to multifamily developers to build the next level of barracks at the installations, as an example. On the bottom right are a couple of the MWR services that we're talking about that occur on the base that are high maintenance. Example of some of the economic development and supporting wind energy, but in the center and at the forefront still is, the Navy. Oceana has the largest employers in our city, so keeping that at the forefront. And then the bottom left is an example of a contract you might be able to piggyback on. So with that, happy to stand by for any questions you might have or any discussion.
Any questions for Brian or Captain Hewitt?
It's exciting.
It is very exciting.
Great.
And thank you, Captain Hewitt, for coming this morning. I think it's great to hear about what you all have been working on. Obviously, we really appreciate the Navy and everything that it brings to our community. And we look forward to this next phase in the partnership where we really look for opportunities to both grow and be successful. And we appreciate you for starting this initiative. Thank you very much.
One thing that's important to note, one, and thanks to, be remiss if I didn't thank Captain Hewitt, not just for his partnership, but also to for his service to our country and also now to our community. Thank you for being here today. But Madam Chair, you're exactly right. This is not only a partnership. I think we're both learning as we go. Because Captain Hewitt mentioned he reaches his knowledge horizon on this every day. So do we. Because what we're doing here has never really been done before. I mean, the Air Force and Army have some experience in this space, but also generally, if you look at even the Brooks City base, when the Air Force started figuring out what to do there, it was a very rural part on the outskirts of San Antonio. The city has now grown to it, so you see development around it, but we're a bit of an anomaly having a jet base in the middle of a city. And so I just want to thank Captain Hewitt for his patience with us as we also try to expand our own knowledge horizon and work through how to make this partnership better every day.
And I will say, hearing the jets, I always think, well, gee, that's the sound of freedom. And now I know what you guys have been doing, and that's even better. Thank you. All right. Thank you for the briefing. Our next update will be a request for approval of a resolution extending the term of the town center option agreement from ESON.
You got it. This one's.
Or Taylor.
You want me to do it, Eson? Eson, run. I got it. Sure? Yeah, I got it. Okay. Morning, everyone. This is very straightforward. This is your 14th. This is the 14th time, I believe, that we have asked for renewal of this option, and this is to ensure the continued development of our town center. I'll just stop here and let you all give this a read. I will highlight, of course, Armada Hoffler, who has been the developer on the 5 phases of town center that we've done today. So again, as you can see, we've been through a few of these extensions, and so I'll spare you reading each of those, but I'll let you have a look at that. Here's the parcel we're talking about. We're talking about what is the surface lot and portion of the Taco Bell on the corner of Independence and Virginia Beach Boulevard is not included in this, specifically in this piece of real estate, but we're talking about the surface parking lot, 186 spaces that are here in our town center. Again, without going through all of this, this is essentially a renewal similar to others. You can see the proposed tower that we hope to site on this parcel at some point. It goes without saying, this is an interesting time for professional office uses nationwide, and so we certainly are an advocate for extending this option, if for no other reason than to let the real estate market renormalize to whatever we're going to see coming out of this pandemic. Our ask is for renewal of the option agreement for an additional three years at $50,000 per year. And why $50,000 per year? This is tracking with your past precedent. Your past precedent was to recover the tax value of the real estate, basically the tax bill on the real estate, as well as a small sum for maintenance of the parking lot. This is through each of your prior extensions of this option, we have tracked with that as the precedent, and we're bringing that back before you today. Same exact deal that we've seen in the past, but it's an extension. It's an extension that would allow you to reap an option fee that covers the taxes on the real estate and maintenance on the parking. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
One thing to consider, we have modified the option agreement 14 times, but it's not just for this parcel. It's each piece of land that was in town center at some time or the other was part of the option agreement. And so every time a parcel was either acquired by us for future development or sold to a Motel for a phase of town center, one of those modifications. So we haven't just been kicking the can down the road.
Is this the last parcel that's left?
This is the last parcel subject to the option agreement, unless.
That's right. This is, so, not the last parcel that Armada Hoffler owns, but the last parcel that is subject to this option agreement. And I'll admit, it's important because we only get to develop well, in my career, I hope we only get to develop the corner of Independence and Virginia Beach Boulevard one time. And there's certainly some pressure on us to get that right. So it's, like I say, we have seen with your investment and the city's investment, town center mature into a vibrant part of our local economy. We want to make sure that we get this last parcel right.
Any questions for Taylor or for Alex? All right, the chair will entertain a motion on the resolution extending the term of the option agreement.
So moved.
I've got a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same.
Abstain.
And one abstention, and that motion carries. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next item is a district improvement program grant. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm Emily Archer. I'm an urban designer with the city in the Economic Development Department. I'm here today to request approval for a unique small business grant program that I really think is the first of its kind that the city as a whole that we've tried. So it's my pleasure to present this to you and the work that we've done to get it to this point. This is a matching grant program that we ran to provide support for small, locally owned businesses operating within the strategic growth areas of the city, the special economic growth areas, the suburban focus areas, council adopted districts, overlays, and Valley Small Business Association in the city of Virginia Beach. It's really for funding, it's spelled out for funding impactful business improvements. Modernization, capital expenditures. It wasn't to be used for like movable office furniture. It's really meant to be an investment in the city of Virginia Beach for a business. We had a $100,000 budget this year. The minimum request could be for $1,000 and the maximum for $10,000. This grew out of, you might remember, the 5 small business matching grant program. So we ran this 2018 timeframe. We had about 12 takers, and we saw a 4-to-1 return on investment for this program. Council was very supportive, but they asked if it could be run citywide. You know, what would happen not just for my businesses, but the city as a whole if we did it. This was before the pandemic, so that I think it really is needed more than ever, and it definitely influenced the volume of applications we received and the types of improvements that were proposed, you'll see. So we received a total of 47. We received applications from February 22nd to March 31st, and in those 5 weeks, large volume, you can kind of see the dots on the map. The applications we filtered by completeness of the application. There was specific things that we asked for in each application. Was the business eligible per the program requirements? Were the types of improvements eligible? And did the proposed improvements meet the goals of the district? The grant review committee met on March 31st, and the ones that rose at the top of the filtering made recommendations for those. The grant review committee consisted of a city council representative, a VBDA representative, a city manager's office representative, a member of the economic development department, and a member of the cultural affairs department. We're here today for the first 7 to ask for your authorization for those. They're going to total $62,257 in grants, and worthy to note, a total of $180,000 in private investment. That's not just a 1-to-1 match, but a 2-to-1 return on investment. The 7, there's a slide for each, but you'll see the disclosures that were, as they were presented to us, a description of the proposed improvements, and the type of business and the grant request on each slide. So the first one is Bay Billiards, commonly known as Shorebreak Pizza and Taphouse on Shore Drive. The contractor is Liquid Builders. The proposal is to build a 720 square foot patio, kind of right in the front of the sign there, including fire pits and a fence. The improvements, those are their words, would increase foot traffic, provide jobs, increase revenues, and aid in their relief during the pandemic. The grant request is for $10,000. You can see their total investment at $52,000, and we're recommending a grant of $10,000 today. Next one is Kinetic Health, also known as Injury Solutions and Sports Performance, on 2640 Virginia Beach Boulevard in the Linden SGA. No applicable disclosures were submitted, but the request is for a new elevation treatment table. It's integral to their business modernization. We'll be able to treat more clients and those with special needs and disabilities. You can see the investment of $4,513 and our grant recommendation of $2,257. The next one is a small women and minority-owned business. They're all small, but this one has other attributes. And then no applicable disclosures. This is in the Hilltop SGA, Lily Pasquale Hair and Skin Salon, in the Hilltop West Shopping Plaza. It's really for interior complete renovation of the business. It will increase foot traffic, provide jobs. They've been running an apprentice program for the past 15 years. This will continue that for all new salon chairs and modernization. Their investment is approximately $32,000, and the recommendation for a grant of $10,000. The fourth one is the Koch Development Corporation. This is commonly known as the Cutty, Sark, Motel, and Historic Cottages at 3614 Atlantic Avenue. It is a woman-owned business in addition to a small business. There's closures. They're looking for Sammy Jackson. A contractor is Henley Construction. The proposal is to replace roof, railings, porch pillars of the cottages, and seal and paint the exterior of the motel. These are really aging structures. The one that they're replacing the pillars is 100 years old this year. So they don't have a lot of properties like that left at the beach. The grant request, easily the investment is $24,000. So they're finding more and more that needs done as soon as they start to repair anything. And the recommendation is for $10,000 grant. The fifth application is Virginia George Co., also known as Doughboys Pizza. This is the 32nd Street location on Atlantic Avenue. The district's the Resort SG and the Atlantic Avenue Association. The construction contractor is Faith and Him Construction LLC. The proposal is to upgrade their HVA system for the air curtain, so to provide more outdoor dining comfort for their customers. The investment is $25,000 for this, and our grant request for $10,000 today. 6 is Pink Dinghy. This is a restaurant in the Vibe Creative District. You can see the existing condition of their outdoor patio. This is to upgrade their outdoor patio with planters, seats, umbrellas, really, because they can't really operate inside as much, to really get new LED walkway lights and an accessible ramp. The contractor's Andrew Curtin, landscape architect Orbis Landscape Architects, and bookkeeper William Sizemore. The investment's about $21,000 and a recommendation of $10,000. Finally, Paris Peros LLC. This is a building that they own with 5 tenants in it. Their lending institution Wells Fargo, CPA Jesse Toscano, and contractor Thomas Custom Painting. This is really to repair a lot of the facades of the businesses, but to repaint the entire building and fix the facade. You can kind of see the existing kind of yellowish and green image on the right. They've sent the colors they're proposing to go with. On the right, you can see there's still more tan neutral tones, as well as fixing some of the paints and cracks and repairs to improve the appearances of the businesses listed there. Investment of at least $20,000 with a recommendation of $10,000. So we'd like to are asking you for authorization of these today. There is the remaining $38,000 of the program I anticipate having before you next month.
Thank you, Emily. Any questions for Emily?
I think it's an awesome initiative. I mean, giving some money to the people is really great here on the businesses. Will only help.
It is a great initiative, and I think it is a really good idea to sort of expand it from the Vibe district so that folks throughout the city can benefit. All right, before I entertain a motion, I will indicate that I'm going to be abstaining from the vote on the first applicant, Shorebreak Pizza, as my firm does work for the principals of Shorebreak. All right, having said that, the chair will entertain a motion. Do we need to vote on each, or? Okay, so one motion on all 6 of the applications.
Motion to approve.
Oh, sorry, all 7 of the applications. I thought I might have been missing one. So we've got a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And again, with my abstention on the first application. Thank you all, and thank you, Emily, for bringing those to us. Second on that.
Either or.
Yeah, we have a second.
We've got 2 possibles. Okay. All right, the next item is Charlie. We've got request for approval of a resolution authorizing the sale of 5.8 acres in Innovation Park.
Madam Chair, members of the authority, thank you for allowing us to bring this matter to your attention yet again. We've looked at it in closed session on several occasions. But it's a great example of a business retention project that we've been working on as a team. Everyone here in this office has touched it in one way or another, but the company is Asturian Construction. Admittedly, they are a low-profile group that does a lot of good work out of town, but also here in the Hampton Roads region. Disclosures that we shared with you previously haven't changed. All of those are accurate. A little bit of history. The company was established in '06. They have about 100 employees, 50 here in Virginia Beach and another 50 scattered around Virginia, DC metro area, and some of the northeast cities. They're a certified U.S. government general contractor, and they're engaged in a lot of different private developments, higher ed, multifamily, industrial developments. Your 2020 project volume was about 80 million, which was really unchanged from the previous year, just given all the struggles that people have been going through in various industries. This is an example of some of their projects. They've done some significant work on some monumental items, like Liberty Island. They were refurbishing the shoreline around that particular facility to ensure its future stability, among other projects of significance around the country. So we're pleased that Virginia Beach Company has been involved in these kinds of big projects. The area that we're talking about is in the Innovation Park along Princess Anne Road, Tournament Drive, as you're familiar with, on a piece of property that was really sort of left idle for many years until this opportunity came along. So it's providing a couple of significant opportunities. One is giving this company the chance to build a headquarters in addition to some other business expansion possibilities, but also enabling the authority and the city to go forward in finishing sort of the third phase, if you will, of the Innovation Park, which was heretofore left sort of there until we got to it. And this gives us cause to go there. It benefits that end of the park. It also benefits the future viability of Virginia Beach National Golf Course as we go forward. Some of the deal points that we've agreed to thus far, as you can note, the sale of about 5.8 acres. The LLC that would be formed to actually be the group that would purchase the property on behalf of the company. That's the principals. The LLC are the principals of the company. Proposed price about $500,000, a little over $80,000 an acre. Again, future headquarters, spec, and some spec office space. Project value is about $35 million. We're proposing they're agreeing to 120-day due diligence period. And we have been working with them on infrastructure and stormwater costs to ensure that they meet the needs and the demands of the regulations that are out there. And that's where we're also making the recommendation that the company receive a project credit of up to the purchase amount to be able to put in place the necessary site work, both on site and immediately across the street on Tournament Drive, that will not only benefit this project, but also benefit the rest of the park long term. There's also a cost participation possibility there that if they exceed a certain amount of expenditure on that site work, and we deem it that a general benefit to the park is ongoing, then we would come back to you and potentially recommend additional funding to finish out the rest of the park, which enables the authority to move out of that business and move on to other development possibilities. So again, this is a site. The area across the street is the stormwater future location. ESON has been working with them and VHB pretty closely to be sure that we're all in close coordination with that. And lastly, we're asking that we move forward and finalize a sales agreement and all the special terms therein to proceed to a closing on the property so they can begin their projects. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. And so, Charlie, thank you. Great job.
Yep.
And for the benefit of the public, what we're really doing here is we're working on an isolated parcel. If you all remember in the Innovation Park, we found as we advanced our development plan to move into phase 2, we found heavy wetland impact, which would have required two things. One, the clear cutting of a mature stand of hardwoods on the Princess Anne frontage, but also would have required significant investment in wetland mitigation and the purchase of credits. We determined that that was not and in talking to the district rep, Ms. Henley, we determined that that was not in the best interest of Princess Anne, of basically what is a very important part of our community. And the one thing that was left at the end of this evaluation was the small parcel that you see here on the other side of Tournament Drive. It's important to note this parcel is zoned for the requested use, and it is, what's great is it's a neat little parcel. It's already got road access. It's outside of the wetland area that we're trying to save. The problem that we ran into is, as Charlie mentioned, historically, there's and long-standing precedent supports that if you come into one of our corporate parks, we provide stormwater, we provide roads, we provide utilities infrastructure, and that is part of the benefit of locating within one of our parks. None of that infrastructure had been extended to this parcel, and the cost of extending that infrastructure to this parcel is not warranted because we're not going to develop. We don't believe that we will develop anything between phase one and this piece of real estate. So what this deal does, what we are asking today to do is move into basically to execute an agreement that would initiate, I think it was 120-day or 180-day due diligence period, 5 or 6 months with 120-day due diligence period, where we would go and figure out exactly what it costs to develop the rest of this site. We are asking that the authority is willing to rebate the cost of developing the infrastructure that we have always provided in our corporate parks, up to the amount that the individual is purchasing, up to the amount that the individual is paying. And that is all we're doing. It's important to note the city acquired this real estate for in the neighborhood of $1,250 per acre 25 years ago, and it's been off the tax rolls for that time. So what we would tell you, if for no other reason a $35 million investment on this piece of real estate is considerable win for the taxpayer and for this authority. But there is a piece of this that's important to note, as Charlie showed. We want to maximize the density on this site. It's no secret that right now stormwater and the amount of space that is required to deliver on the new stormwater regs is, I'm not going to say it's a challenge, it's just a new threshold that we're all learning. And so we are asking that on some of the real estate that is also zoned I-1, that is outside of the wetland, that is across Tournament Drive, we allow this developer to build a BMP and pipe into that on that property. That'll be something that we'll own and maintain. But it's also important to note our system south of here at Virginia Beach National Golf Course is at capacity. And in talking to our colleagues in Public Works, you could argue that it is beyond capacity with the private sector development that we have put on that system. It's that system is 12 BMPs, Isan, or 9? 9 BMPs that are daisy chained together with one outfall off the back of the property onto the ITA. That system is at capacity. The BMP that would go on this site, as you can see, if you look at the bottom of the picture, you can see on the south side of Tournament Drive what is one of the first ponds at the golf course. This BMP that they will build for us actually slows down water headed to that BMP and provides some ancillary benefit to the golf course as well. With that, we ask your approval to move forward, and I'm happy to take any questions as well.
Question from Bill.
So we're, in a sense, giving them the property in exchange for developing some of the stormwater management stuff.
And water, sewer, electricity as well, yes, sir. Okay.
The part that I'm a little curious about, though, that seems very open-ended for us to just approve here today, is the cost participation. It just kind of references that there's a possibility that cost may exceed $500,000, and we may participate in that cost. That seems kind of open-ended for us today.
So agree. So it's important to note you are in no way obligated to an action beyond what is beyond the rebate for validated expenses up to the purchase price. The company did The company asked as part of the conversation for the certainty that an EDIP would be advanced. We, of course, rejected that request, as that something that would have to come back to this body. What we did tell them was, as you go through due diligence, just like we would tell any company, you may submit an application for an EDIP and we'll evaluate it if appropriate. But it is important to note that there is no guarantee or there is no commitment beyond the purchase price that is committed as part of this action today. But the reason we rejected the request for an EDIP is for exactly what we don't know what verified costs are. We're not in due diligence yet, and we felt it was too open-ended. So it's important to note that is not a guaranteed action by any means.
So why do we have this language in here?
We included it we expect there will be an ask at some point, and we did not want it to be a surprise to you, but you are absolutely not bound to, yes.
It just seems, I get the future request. Everything we approve has a potential future request.
Of course.
Just putting this language in here, to me, just leaves this implication that we're open to having a discussion about something beyond what we would normally do. And I'm just struggling to, maybe I'm the only one. If I am, then I'll put it aside, but.
It's not an action that we're obligated to take on, so I mean, I'm comfortable striking if that's the will of the body.
We can strike it.
Take it out of the terms.
From my standpoint, it's an implication that we don't put in other agreements.
Why you're gonna do it?
So, I mean, so we're happy to amend the document to strike that language if that's the will of the body.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, Bill's right, if we really want to keep these separate, we should have a letter of intent, because all we're doing is agreeing to the terms of a deal to allow you and Taylor to negotiate. And then the second part, if during the course of due diligence, they determine that the costs are going to exceed that, they could come back with another request. I think that's
We welcome
fair.
that edit.
Okay.
And the calls will probably come in higher.
Yeah.
To an almost certain.
No.
Positively.
As
I
far,
know that already.
yeah, as far as stormwater management and the benefit to Virginia Beach National, this gives us additional capacity, or?
So this is what, and this is where Isan will jump up and grab my arm and tell me, you know, I'm gonna get in trouble. This is where I wanna be careful, because we're not dealing with a design system as yet. We know that water comes across that piece of real estate to get into our system at the golf course. We know that our system at the golf course is at capacity. I wanna stop short of being speculative here, but it goes to reason that anything that slows water down on the way to our system is a benefit to our system. But I'd like to see that designed first. Also, I can't tell you that we would do this. This is really a CIP discussion and a conversation to come back and talk to you all about. We want to see the modeling on the BMP that they would design just to carry their project, because there may be an opportunity to increase the size of it slightly on real estate that we already know to provide a real benefit to our system and other parts of the park. But as that BMP is presently undesigned, we just want to get into due diligence and see where we land.
And can we put anything on the parcel that's wet?
So we would have to buy mitigation credits, but it's important to note, there's Charlie, if you can throw that map back up. And again, I promise you, he's nervous right now. So this is not designated, that's a jurisdictional wetland. But it is really contained within the metes and bounds here. We have real estate here, but really we see this BMP probably best served here, and then coming around the designated wetland because our parcel gets narrower here, but our wetlands end about right here, and so we've got some space we can work with north and west of that designation that we think gets us there. But again, we really need to get in design and get with the team in stormwater review and find out what we're dealing with there.
So the due diligence period will really benefit us as well.
Yes, ma'am. No doubt.
All right, any questions for Taylor or Charlie? Thank you, Charlie. The chair will entertain a motion on the resolution for the sale of approximately 5.8 acres in Innovation Park.
Continuing that motion, that we will be striking the last paragraph under special terms, labeled possible cost participation.
Yes, sir.
So we've got a motion with that edit to the term sheet brought by Bill Brunke. Can I get a second on that motion? A second by Joe Strange. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. You got that. That motion carries. The next item on the agenda under corporate parks is a request for the approval of a resolution authorizing the grant of an option to purchase 4 acres at Corporate Landing. Ray, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of the authority. Today I'd like to present to you Sims Inc. project that we're working on. Disclosures, the owner of the company is Dr. Johnny Garcia with his partners Mark and Audrey Leishman and Mark Rosenberg. Legal is Bruce Grisht, and the land planning is done by Melissa Venable of Land Planning Solutions. Project information, first of all, Simis is headquartered in Portsmouth, Virginia. They do currently operate a business here in Virginia Beach. Their human-type targets business, which is robotics business, is located over on Viking Drive, and does some really neat cutting-edge activities with them. The company was founded in 2007. And they were named Small Business of the Year by the Chamber in 2018. They specialize in modeling, simulation, cybersecurity, training, and other technical areas. And they are planning on building a data center with a potential cable landing station in our corporate landing park. And they have hired the former Celsius and Point One members in their company. To provide the expertise to move forward with their plans. And their planned building is, as you see on this diagram, right next to Celsius, where they're located now in our corporate landing park. And again, it's approximately 4-acre site.
Can you go back, Ray? So it's the red square labeled site, okay.
Yes. Right here.
And you might just want to reacquaint everybody with what's around that.
Sure. Celsius is right next to it. New Realm is right here. The Point One facility, which is currently on hold, is right across the street from it. So those are the main construction activities right next to it there.
Thank you.
Here's the initial plan for their facility. 20,000 square foot to start, with the potential of adding an additional 10,000 square feet there on Marine Parkway. Some of the project specifics, we received a letter of intent on September 8th of this past year to purchase approximately 4 acres in our corporate landing park. And we received on February 5th the option to purchase agreement to purchase that property. The key factors are $200,000 per usable acres, as I mentioned previously, approximately 4 acres. $20,000 1-year option fee that we're proposing, additional $25,000 if they extend it for an additional year. The fees are applicable towards the purchase of the property, and the fee is non-refundable if they don't purchase the property. We request to finalize options of purchase agreement with the company and our property on Corporate Landing Business Park. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ray?
Remind us why the Point One is on hold?
Actually,
Ray, if I can?
yeah, sure.
They've reinitiated construction in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that was
They're going again.
just an inside business.
That's right, that's right.
What was the reason for the pause, do we know?
Let's call it COVID. That's what we're choosing to say simply because they were shut down for almost the exact length of the pandemic. But one thing we want to note, they never left our community. They had equipment on storage with their general contractor who was charging them rent, and they were paying it. And so, I mean, we felt certain that they were always wanting to come back, and they've reinitiated in the last couple of weeks. So it's great news for the community.
This is certainly a great opportunity to continue our growth in the data center area. They've also been talking with the city on right-of-ways for terrestrial cable to come in, to hook into it, and also a great opportunity to continue growth in that particular area.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ray? Great, thank you, Ray. The chair will entertain a motion on the request.
Motion to approve.
All right, so we've got a motion and do we have a second?
Second.
Second? All right, with the motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Got it on the phone, thank you. Next item is discussion of proposed modifications to the design guidelines for corporate landing. Good morning, Isan.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Members. So we're here to talk today about, discuss modifications to the design guidelines and the proffers, zoning proffers. As you can see, the original master plan dates from 1990. And we really here, like, the intent is to basically align those design guidelines and proffers to the current zoning ordinance, nothing less. The park has seen certainly some great transformations through the years, great infrastructure, including fiber, 2.2 miles of fiber conduit that you own, and also some great companies. This is just to give you an idea of what the design guidelines and proffers are today. So the original design guidelines dates from 1990. There's an amendment on August 18, 1998. Original proffers date from 1988 and have seen 3 subsequent modifications. The latest ones date from 1996. So as I've said before, the intent is to comply or to get aligned with the zoning ordinance. And it's also worth noting that most companies, if not all, that are today that have home in the corporate landing have been granted some waivers, either of the design guidelines or we had to go to planning and then to council to modify the proffers. So basically, we'll get a refresh, we'll refresh the master plan and the design criteria for current and to position the park for current and future market conditions. We've seen a lot of the market as it stands today calls for a lot of light manufacturing and advanced manufacturing. The park as it stands today is allowing warehousing, distribution centers, but doesn't give clear directions as to the orientation and positions of the buildings. So VHB, we've been working with the VHB, and AV Archer also has been a great help with Svetla. So based on some current, we're also working with multiple projects, and they all require waivers of the design criteria and also the proffers. So to date, this is what has been finalized. I mean, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but we're looking at the setbacks. And just to give you an example, Your current front yard setback calls for a 75 feet, while the zoning ordinance only calls for 30. So, things like that. This is what we're working on to finalize the building setback, the parking lot setback, parking requirements, minimum lot area, and landscape islands. Emily has been, as I said, huge help working with us on some innovative materials and construction materials, and also building looks of the warehouses. You cannot have, you could play with the different material colors and materials to have better building types and orientations. So we would like to move forward with all of this, and we're requesting your permission if we could submit to Planning Commission on May 1st. We are still finalizing everything, and everything is coming together.
Well, it certainly seems like a refresh is necessary after 31 years. I think it would be unusual not to reevaluate. So where you are in the process is you're pulling together an application to modify the proffers.
This is what we're doing both. We're gonna come back before you and to tell you once all the design criteria have been finalized. But we also do not want to miss the May 1st deadline to change, to modify the proffers, the zoning proffers.
That's exactly right. There'll be more briefings on how this process works for this body. We just want to get into planning on May 1st. And really, and here's the problem that we're trying to solve. One, we're down to just a few developable parcels left in the park, which is great, because 35 years later, it's time that we closed out this park and focused on the next one. The other thing that's important to know, though, is the reality of economic development, and particularly industrial recruiting today, is when you're talking about a build to suit, we've got to be able to deliver it in a year. And delivering, so there are a number of you at the table that are in this business. Delivering a building in 12 months right now is a challenge. And so for us, what we're trying to do is basically advance our proffers and our design guidelines to the point that we've got a pitch we can hit when we land an opportunity. And it's important to me that we get started, because we have a prospect in town today. As soon as this meeting's over, I'm heading to the port, and then to work to hopefully bring more good news like you all are going to hear in just a second. But we really need these, and ask your approval.
And so the design guidelines that we developed for the corporate park were probably included or proffered as part of the rezoning.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So when we.
And they're also a bit confusing, because the addendum that was approved in '98 also deletes several pages of the design guidelines, and it's like I don't know how many. Emily, do you remember how many?
Yeah, it's like a jigsaw,
like
trying to figure out what it's saying.
50 or 60 of them refer to notes this, so it would be nice to have one document very clear, because it gets really confusing even to developers.
It's also simple things. 35 years ago, or 30 years ago when we were doing this, it was, red brick red brick on all sides was considered a real enhancement to the property. It was beautiful. Fast forward to today, we've just got far more innovative building materials that still offer a really attractive product, but we don't incur the masonry cost, and you just don't see a lot of red brick construction in Virginia Beach. So for us, we think this also helps us be more responsive to where the market wants to be.
Thank you. Any other questions for you, Son? Thank you all for working so hard to redo those design guidelines. I think it'll be important to the success of the park. Do we need to pass a motion?
Yes, please.
To make the application? All right, so the chair will entertain a motion to submit an application to modify the design guidelines and the proffers for corporate landing.
So moved.
We've got a motion.
Second.
Bill, and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Madam Chair, if I may, can we go out of order and do 10 first?
Sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead and do number 10.
This is a call it another COVID extension of an existing EIP that we're close to the finish line on. This is DAO Emerging Technologies. I'll let you all read the disclosures and then we'll dive in. Great local company at 945 Seahawk Circle. You can see just a number of things about them. In 2021, on revenues of $7 million, 24 employees. It's a computer systems company, provides software, hardware solutions for business-to-business application. We awarded them a $100,000 Part C in April of 2017 on proposed capital investment of $2.35 million. As of March 21st, they've invested roughly $1.5 million. They have $802,000 left to be funded at the remaining $34,000 in their EDIP. They're confident that they will hit this. We're asking basically for a one-year extension as they come out of the pandemic to allow them to complete the award. And that's the only request here. There's $34,000 outstanding, relatively small amount of money. The company's confident that they will hit their capital investment requirement, and we're just asking the ability to let them finish.
Taylor, what do they have left to complete as far as their capital investment?
I am guessing it's primarily in equipment, but admittedly, this is one I'm covering for Laura, as she is with the prospect that I'm going to meet right now. But she's been working with this one. The assurance that I have from her is that we're on track to get there. We just hit a snag because of the pandemic. Important to note one thing about this one: were we tracking with just the baseline statute, we would have already fully. Basically, if we were tracking with our policy as it's written today, which is where we default back down to what the policy requires for capital investment, we would have already fully funded this request. But because this was a 17 request where there oftentimes was a difference, basically we would chart our reimbursement based on total proposed capital investment, not the capital investment that was required to meet the policy objective. We have a gap here. The good news is they're going to reach the capital investment, but they need another year to get there, they say. If not, we would recommend that in the event that as this is a one-year extension, we do not recommend a second extension as part of this motion, that basically it'd be a year and we're out.
And I'll note that their disclosure statement was signed, but it was blank. I assume they meant to check no for everything since they didn't indicate anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions for Taylor on the request?
So the extension, how long does it go now, from April right now to next year April, or?
That's right, April to April. We anticipate that they'll be, Laura did indicate that we anticipate they'll be complete by December 31st.
So they should be done by the end of the calendar year.
We think so, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to request to authorize an extension for the time of performance. Dow Technology.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Something that you can throw up the announcement, please. All right.
Going back to number 9. Thanks, Taylor.
And it's a great day in Virginia Beach. Fella's going to show you the governor's announcement here that we'll kick this one off with. But at 9 a.m. this morning, the governor released an announcement. Here it comes.
Somebody else's announcement.
Should be in your email. Okay, don't worry about it. At 9 a.m. this morning, the governor announced that Sunny Farms LLC was coming to Virginia Beach. It's a $59.6 million investment in our community. This is a revolutionary industrial agriculture opportunity. Everything that we're going to be showing you here is part of, it's all right, let's just jump over to the presentation. Everything that we're going to show you here is by way of project summary, and our investment is required to match the governor's investment. But here we are, Sunny Farms LLC. Developer here is Jim Arnold and Wayne's Inn. Jim's a well-known guy in our community, and we this is a little bit of a different venture for him, but we appreciate both his innovation, but also his willingness to continue investing in our community. I'll let you all read the rest of it. The company's going to own and operate a hydroponic farming facility. This is industrial agriculture. One of the things that's exciting, you all have heard me say, one of the things that as we continue to develop our bio lab and explore that cluster and the industrial sector here in Virginia Beach, we believe agricultural and biological engineering is going to be, especially when you look at the amount of farming that we have in the Pongo Princess Anne area, we think that this is the part of bio where we can sort of get a foothold and drive forward and create some differentiation for our market. This project gets us started. So this project comes to us with Virginia Tech as a partner. In the world of ag and bioengineering, that's about as good a partner as you can have. Now, not an investor, but conducting workforce training and research on the product that they are delivering. And then, important to note, will be a neat thing about this opportunity is the owner/developer will specifically be targeting service-disabled veterans for employment in the facility, which we think is a great connection to just a core part of our community. Here's where we are. Another great thing about this one, to orient you, we have Dam Neck Road, Corporate Landing, Harper's. These are the Oceana golf courses. This is what we all affectionately know as the Taylor Farm. And so we are on call it the northern, I guess north sort of west wall there of the Taylor Farm. Here's what we're doing in phase one. Thanks to our colleagues in planning who agreed that the long and short of it is a hydroponic farming facility is a large greenhouse, therefore it fits within an ag zoning. So we are working with we are working within the zoning that is approved for this parcel. You can see here's our access off of Harper's. Here are our first 4 facilities. To give you an idea, those blocks are 90,000 square feet apiece. So this is a considerable investment in our community. Here's where we are. Phase 1, 120,000 square feet. Phase 2, an additional 640 in phase 3. We think that we'll see, as we prove this, we'll see 1.2 million square feet of this use in our community. It's one of the reasons we had to locate this on the Taylor Farm. Important to note, you are only investing in the first phase. VBDA is only investing in the first phase. So, coming to this, we're on capital investment of 59.6 million, which is great. We've got land that's zoned ag that we're going to invest $60 million into, the better part of $60 million in developing, and so again, a tremendous win right out of the gate for the taxpayer and for this authority. We think that you can see how that's spread out across construction, machinery and tools, and tangible property. The 23.7 million in machinery and tools, it's important for me to stop and just mention for, not just for this body, of course, but for anyone in the community that might be watching, our city council's longstanding commitment to ensuring that our machinery, that there was effectively no machinery and tools tax in Virginia Beach, or in our case, it's a nuisance tax. But that said, you can see here, not just on this project, but on every industrial project that we recruit, the absence of a machinery and tools tax in Virginia Beach is a core part of the strength of our pitch and what brings industry to our community. Tangentially, also the accelerated depreciation that's offered on data centers. I'm sure Ray would say it was a big part of the deal that he just completed. We project 155 jobs at $51,000 or $51,500 apiece. through development here. This is important to us because this is well above the sort of the median wage for labor jobs, not just in our region, but across the Commonwealth. Our governor is providing two incentives. One is a $600,000 commitment from the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund, and then a $100,000 investment from the Agriculture and Forestry Industries Development Firm. Our request of you is that we provide a $600,000 EDIP to match a $600,000 Commonwealth Opportunity Fund and $100,000 Ag and Forestry Industries Development Fund. And so why 600 for the two? We have to match the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund dollar for dollar. We can count the same money twice for the $100,000, so long as that first $100,000 is paid out within a year, and I believe we can get 1 6-month extension of that. But the Commonwealth is effectively allowing you to count your money twice. So where the governor's in for 700, we're in for 600, or at least that is the request that's in front of you today. With that, I'm happy to take any questions about what is a pretty exciting day for us.
Thank you, Taylor. Any questions for Taylor on this exciting project? I guess we don't have to call it Project Lettuce anymore now.
We don't. You can call it Sunny Farms LLC now. That's right.
Now, since they have their zoning, are they ready to put the shovel into the ground, or do they still have to go through site plan?
I don't want to speak for the developer, but as I understand it, the first building they are effectively waiting on this so that they can press go on the order of the building. And so we are there. And this, by the way, I don't want to get ahead of you all. I hope that you will approve this. This will be the first time we've brought you a $100 million day. And so, in any economy in America, a single meeting that brings $100 million in new investment in our community is exciting for all of us. So if my team looks giddy, we are. I mean, this is as good a day as we've had in a long time. So,
Big win.
yes.
All right, any other questions for Taylor?
Congrats. Great job.
Congratulations.
The team did it. I just get to stand up here and talk about it. But thank you all.
Congrats.
The chair will then entertain a motion to approve the resolution authorizing $600,000 in EDIP Part A funds to Sunny Farms LLC. So we've got a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you to Taylor and the entire team on this one.
Thank you all very much.
All right, next item on the agenda is VBDA priorities. Any commissioners have anything they want to mention at today's meeting? Seeing none, we'll move on to VBDA members, and that's got me next to it. I don't think we've got anything to add there, so we'll move to the director's report. Taylor.
I don't know that there's anything I can say that's better than what you all just did, so thank you very much.
Hard to top that, right? Doesn't happen every meeting, although it has happened at quite a few. All right, with that, the chair will entertain a motion to recess into a closed session pursuant to the exemptions from open meetings allowed by Section 2.2-3711A Code of Virginia as amended for the following purposes. Prospective business or industry, discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A5. Contracts, discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A30.
Move.
So we've got a motion and a second, and we'll go to a voice vote. Vicki, on this one?
David Byrne,
Absent.
William Brown,
Yes.
William Brunke,
Yes.
Taylor Franklin,
Yes.
Kenny Morgan,
Stepped out.
Lisa
Lisa Murphy.
Yes.
Excuse me. Mike Sandy.
Stepped out.
Joe Strange.
Yes.
Gunter Weisenseal.
Yep.
And Dot Woods on the phone, I believe.
We are.
Madam Chair, I was on the phone.
We've got